It started with a birthday party. A VHS tape from 1992. Grainy footage, timestamp blinking faintly in the bottom right corner. June 14th, 1992, 3:42 p.m. A garden full of kids, pastel balloons bobbing in the wind. Adults drinking punch from red plastic cups. Laughter, off-key singing. A cake shaped like a dinosaur. Then there he was, standing in the far background, just behind the hedges, perfectly still. At first, it seemed like nothing. A guest, maybe a neighbor who'd wandered into frame. But something was off. He was too far from the party, not engaged, not moving. Just standing, watching. Lauren Templeton paused the tape, rewound, played again. He didn't flinch. Not once. She clicked pause again, studying the image. The man wore a pale gray suit, the kind people wore in the 80s, outdated even for the early 90s. His posture was stiff, his head tilted at an angle, unnatural like a mannequin on display. No facial expression, no interaction, just watching. The tape wasn't hers. She'd found it in a dusty box from a local estate sale she was cataloging for her vintage collectibles channel. The handwritten label read simply, Camden, 6th B Day. Lauren collected old footage for a living, estate videos, antique films, flea market reels. Her subscribers loved it when she discovered quirky moments in people's pasts. Birthday fails, awkward dance moves, accidental photo bombs. But this felt different. She ran the tape again. Slower. The man was there from the beginning, never in the middle of the frame, always just out of focus, just barely visible, always watching. That night, Lauren couldn't sleep. The face haunted her, even though it was never quite visible, like it had burned itself into the back of her eyelids. She found herself thinking about how long he'd been there, who he was, why he was watching someone else's child's party. In the morning, curiosity won. She dug out her other estate sale tapes, boxes stacked in the back of her studio apartment, most unmarked. She began going through them one by one, hunting for anything unusual. Nothing turned up for days. Dozens of tapes, hundreds of hours, until she found it again. A tape labeled Christmas '85. A different family, a different house. But the man in the background was the same. Same gray suit, same angle of the head, same eerie stillness. This time he stood across the street from the house, partially hidden behind a bare tree. He never moved, never acknowledged the camera. Yet there he was, just long enough to be noticed if you looked closely. Lauren stared at the screen, chilled. This wasn't coincidence. This was intentional. But how? How is the same man showing up in videos from different families, different states, and different years? She needed help. She posted a screenshot to a private Facebook group of vintage collectors, asking, anyone recognize this guy? Background of 1992 home video. Seems to appear in others too. She didn't expect much. Maybe a few theories. But the replies flooded in. Wait, I have a wedding video from 1988 with a guy like that in the background. That's weird. I swear I've seen him in one of my grandma's tapes. OMG. I just checked my parents' Halloween '91 footage. He's there, just standing across the street. Photos followed. Grainy frames, digitized stills. Each showed him, the man in the gray suit. Always distant. Always expressionless. Always watching. Lauren's pulse quickened. She opened every file. Cross-referenced timestamps, locations, background details. Different regions, different decades. Some in color, some black and white. But always him. It wasn't just a bizarre coincidence. It was a pattern. A terrifying one. She began cataloging every instance. 1983. Halloween footage from Iowa, standing behind a neighbor's fence. 1988. Wedding in California, behind a hedge, just visible in one frame. 1995. 4th of July, backyard barbecue in Maine. Standing by a tree, alone, head tilted. 2001. First day of school video in Pennsylvania. Standing near a parked car, unmoving. Each time, he looked just slightly out of place. Enough to be overlooked. But now, with the pattern exposed, it was impossible to ignore. Who was he? Lauren zoomed into one of the clearer frames and enhanced it with software. His face remained vague, obscured by VHS blur, as if the footage resisted clarity. But something about the outline, sharp cheekbones, narrow eyes, no visible mouth, unsettled her. She enlarged it further. That's when she noticed something even more disturbing. The man never aged. From the earliest 1970s reel to the most recent 2004 DVD footage she analyzed, his face, posture, and clothes never changed. His hair didn't gray. His suit remained pristine. Time never touched him. And then came the message. An email. No sender. No subject. No traceable address. Just a single line of text. Stop looking. Lauren froze. She closed the laptop, locked her door, drew the blinds. Her hands trembled. The apartment, once warm and cluttered with collectibles, now felt alien. Too quiet. Too exposed. She didn't tell anyone. Instead, she kept digging. The man began appearing more frequently. Tapes she'd watched before. Now he was there. It was like he was retroactively inserting himself into the footage. Scenes she'd logged as clear now showed the faint figure in the distance. Always in the background. Always watching. And then, he moved. Not in the tapes. In real life. It happened on a rainy Tuesday. Lauren had just returned from a trip to a pawn shop. She left the new box of tapes by her desk, kicked off her boots, and moved to the kitchen. The old baby monitor she used as a white noise generator suddenly crackled. It shouldn't have. She never turned it on. Faint static, then a low voice, impossible to make out words. Just a whisper, indistinct, vet sounding, like breath on a cold window. She stared at the monitor. It sat on the counter, off, but the sound continued. She unplugged it. Still, the whispering went on. Heart pounding. She picked it up and flung it into the trash. The whispering stopped. That night, she reviewed a tape from 1990. In one scene, a father teaching his son to ride a bike, she saw the man again. But this time, he was closer. Not behind a tree or a parked car. He was standing in the driveway, facing the camera. And for the first time, he moved. Only slightly, a twitch of the hand. The briefest flicker of a nod. Lauren screamed. She paused the tape, rewound, played it again. Same twitch. Same nod. This wasn't static. This wasn't coincidence. This was presence. She began to hear things in her apartment. Soft taps at the window despite being 6 floors up, whispers through the vents, shadows shifting across the ceiling when the lights were off. She started sleeping with the lights on. And in every reflection, windows, dark TV screens, even the shine of a spoon, she thought she saw something standing behind her. Gray suit, head tilted, watching. The whispering didn't stop. Lauren tried to convince herself it was in her head, stress, sleep deprivation, too many hours staring at screens. But when she unplugged every device and still heard it, a low hum like someone muttering just behind the walls, she couldn't deny it anymore. She wasn't alone. And it wasn't just the sound. It was the feeling of pressure in the apartment. The sense of being watched, not occasionally, but constantly. Even in the shower, even in her sleep, especially when she was alone. One night, while digitizing a 1986 Christmas tape from Alabama, she caught a new detail. The man in the gray suit was standing in the background, as always, but this time his head wasn't tilted. It was turned toward the camera, toward her. And even though the footage was blurry and degraded, Lauren swore he was smiling. Not with his mouth, with his eyes. That was the first night she locked every door and slept on the floor of her bathroom, lights on, clutching her phone with trembling hands. No one answered when she called. Not her brother, not her best friend, not even her emergency therapist line. Only voicemail. She didn't leave the apartment for 2 days. When she finally did, it was because her neighbor knocked, old Mr. Carlton from 4B, asking if she was okay. He said he'd heard her pacing all night, whispering, even laughing. Lauren hadn't laughed in days. He added, almost as an afterthought, "You've had a lot of visitors lately." She frowned. "I haven't had anyone over." Mr. Carlton blinked. "Then who's that man who keeps standing outside your door at night?" Lauren didn't answer. She couldn't. She installed a security camera that afternoon. That night, she watched the feed live on her laptop. At exactly 3:11 a.m., her hallway lights flickered. The feed glitched just for a second, and in that brief static, there he was, standing in front of her door. Gray suit, head tilted, perfectly still. Then, as quickly as he appeared, he was gone. The timestamp rolled on. Lauren backed up the footage, frame by frame. And in one frozen moment, the man's face was turned toward the camera. His eyes locked with hers. She shut the laptop and cried until sunrise. She had to understand what this was. Why he kept appearing. Why her? Why now? Back on her forum, her original post had taken off. Dozens of people had shared their own encounters, their own tapes, even stills and timelines. Everyone had a version of the same story. They hadn't noticed him at first. Then they did. Then things started happening. One user, Tapehound88, sent a message. You're not the only one who's seen him. But once you see him, he sees you. And then he starts getting closer. Attached was a clip, a 1993 family trip to Yellowstone. At first, the footage seemed normal. A couple with their 2 kids standing by the Grand Prismatic Spring. Tourists in the background. Nothing unusual. But as the clip continued, the cameraman panned right, revealing a figure standing just beyond the steam, motionless, head cocked. Lauren paused it. Same gray suit. Same silhouette. She skipped forward 5 minutes in the footage. Now the man was closer, behind a nearby bench. Another 5 minutes, and he was right behind the family. Standing still, watching. No one in the video reacted to him. Not even a glance. It was as if he wasn't really there, unless you knew to look. Lauren replied. What happens if he gets too close? The user never answered. She checked his profile the next day. Account deleted. Her obsession deepened. She printed out stills, mapped appearances, made a red string conspiracy web on her living room wall. The pattern was too strange to be random. She noticed gaps, long stretches where the man didn't appear on any tapes. Months, even years. But those silent gaps were always followed by something tragic. House fires, disappearances, suicides, all seemingly unrelated, until you looked at the footage again. And there he was, standing in the background, always just out of frame. Lauren finally did what she had been dreading. She searched her own family's home videos. Her mother had sent her a box of old mini-DV tapes years ago. Holidays, camping trips, school recitals. Lauren hadn't looked at them since college. The first 3 were normal. The 4th was not. It was a clip of her 5th birthday. Pink streamers. A clown. But in one frame, as the camera spun to catch the party guests, a figure appeared at the edge of the backyard fence. Gray suit. Head tilted. Watching. Lauren dropped the remote. She rewound. Froze the frame. It was him. He had been there. Her entire life. She played it forward. This time, he seemed closer. Not standing behind the fence, but in the yard. Among the guests. No one noticed him. No one reacted. Not even 5-year-old Lauren, who, in one eerie shot, ran right past him as he stood near the gift table. Her tiny form darted past. His head turned to follow her, but no one else saw. Lauren couldn't breathe. She now knew with certainty. This wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't a digital glitch. This man had been following her since childhood. Watching. Waiting. But for what? In the days that followed, the apartment became unbearable. Lights flickered constantly. Her digital clocks reset to 3:11 a.m. every night, even when unplugged. Every mirror held a faint reflection of something that wasn't there when she turned. She stopped sleeping. She stopped eating. One night, Lauren stood in front of her full-length mirror and stared at her own exhausted face. Her reflection blinked, but she didn't. She froze. In the mirror, something was standing behind her. Tall, gray, head tilted. She turned fast. Nothing. But in the mirror, it remained. And it was smiling. Lauren had stopped trusting her own reflection. She covered every mirror in her apartment with bed sheets and duct tape. But even then, she saw movement in the corners of her eyes. A twitch in the blank television screen. A flicker in the glass of her microwave door. He was always there, just barely. The more she ignored him, the bolder he became. On a Thursday evening, her laptop turned on by itself. The webcam light blinked green. Then the screen flickered, not blue, but static, and for a brief, dizzying second, she saw her own face staring back. Except her expression was wrong. Too still. Her mouth was slightly open, as if mid-breath. And behind her, there he was. Same gray suit. Standing still. Head tilted, eyes locked on the camera. Lauren slammed the laptop shut. Moments later, her phone vibrated. Unknown number, one new voicemail. She hesitated. Then she hit play. There was only silence at first, then faint breathing. Then something else, the sound of footsteps. Not heavy ones. Slow, creaking across wooden floors. They paused, and then a low whisper crackled through the speaker. I've always been here. She dropped the phone. This was no longer about footage. It wasn't just images on tapes or strange figures in the background. It had crossed over. Whatever he was, he knew she knew. And now he was closer. She tried to report it. She went to the police station, shaking, clutching her laptop and a folder of printed stills. She sat down with an officer, told her story as rationally as she could about the man, the home videos, the security cam footage. She even showed him a clip from her 5th birthday. He listened patiently, then asked if she had anyone she could talk to about stress. She never made it past the front desk. On the way home, Lauren stopped by a local video archival center. She needed someone who wasn't close to her, someone who didn't already think she was unraveling. There, she met Omar, a soft-spoken technician who had worked with film restoration for over 20 years. She offered to pay him to look through a curated folder of tapes she had copied. I just want to know if you see him too, she whispered. Omar nodded. I'll watch them tonight. That was Friday. By Monday, the archival center was closed. By Tuesday, she saw the news headline online. Local video archivist found dead in apartment. Foul play not suspected. The article mentioned no signs of struggle, no forced entry. Cause of death, undetermined. Lauren checked her email. There was one new message from Omar's account. No subject, no body text, just a single attachment, a still image. She opened it. It was a frame from one of the tapes she'd given him. A wedding reception from 1998. The bride was laughing. The guests were dancing. And in the background, he was there. Only this time, the man wasn't standing. He was crouched behind the cake table, staring directly into the lens. The timestamp at the bottom read 3:11 a.m. Lauren slammed the laptop shut and ran to the bathroom to throw up. That night, she made a decision. She had to go back. Back to her childhood home. Back to the source. She hadn't seen her parents in nearly a year, not since the first time she mentioned the tapes. Her mother had gone quiet. Her father changed the subject. Old recordings aren't worth digging into, he'd said. What's the point of looking backward? Now she understood why. Lauren packed light, just her camera, her laptop, a few tapes, and a flashlight. She rented a car and made the 4-hour drive through thick fog and cold rain. Her hands never stopped shaking. When she arrived, the house looked the same. Too same, as if it had been preserved. Frozen in time. Her mother greeted her cautiously, her face pale. Why now, she asked. I need answers, Lauren said. About him. Her mother didn't ask who. She only looked away. That night, they sat together in the living room. Her father was unusually quiet. The television was off. No one touched their tea. Lauren opened the laptop. I want to show you something. She played the clip from her 5th birthday party. When a man appeared in the frame, her mother gasped, hand clutched to her chest. Her father didn't even blink. Do you remember him? Lauren asked. Silence. Her mother finally whispered. He was never in the backyard. Her father stood up, walked to the kitchen, and didn't come back. Lauren leaned in. Who is he? Her mother hesitated. He's not someone you remember. He's someone you forget. Until it's too late. That night, Lauren stayed in her childhood bedroom. At 3:11 a.m., she woke up, not to sound, but to a feeling, like gravity pulling in the wrong direction. The walls felt too close, the air too thick. She turned her phone flashlight on and saw footprints. Vet, Borda, leading from the door to the side of her bed. Her breath caught in her throat. She followed the prints with the beam, slowly, until they vanished beneath her dresser. She crouched, lowered the light, and saw nothing, except the faint reflection of her own eyes in the polished wood, and his watching from behind hers. Lauren didn't sleep for the rest of the night. She sat in the middle of her childhood bed, knees tucked to her chest, flashlight clenched like a weapon. The air was wrong, colder than it should have been, dense with a silence that swallowed every sound. Not even the floorboards creaked. It was the silence of watching, of waiting. She knew he was here. Morning brought no relief. The footprints were gone. No marks. No disturbance in the dust. Her phone had stopped working sometime after 3:30 a.m., the screen frozen on the home screen, but the battery hadn't died. It was just frozen, like time was breaking in little pieces. She went downstairs to find her mother already awake, staring into her teacup like it was a black hole. No sign of her father. "Where is he?" Lauren asked. Her mother didn't answer. "Why did you never tell me about the man in the tapes?" Her mother slowly looked up. "We did everything we could to forget him. You were the only one who remembered." Lauren frowned. "What does that mean?" Her mother's lips trembled, but her voice stayed even. "You were 5 when we first saw him. Your birthday party. I remember your father stopped the tape. He rewound it, paused it, and there he was. The man behind the bushes." She took a shaky breath. "We tore up the yard that night. Searched the whole house. But he wasn't there. Never had been. And still he was." Lauren's pulse pounded in her ears. "I saw him again that year. Then again the next year. Every time I filmed something, a holiday, a birthday, even a school play, he was there just for a moment. He never moved, but he was always in the frame." "What did you do?" Lauren asked, her voice nearly a whisper. "We stopped recording," her mother said. Lauren felt sick. "You didn't think to warn me? You let me digitize everything, rewatch it all." Her mother cut her off. "You're the only one who remembered him, Lauren. Even as a child. That's what made it worse." She paused, then added softly, "Your father forgot completely." A chair scraped behind them. They both jumped. It was her father, stepping into the kitchen, eyes sunken and distant like someone halfway between waking and sleep. "I saw him again," he said quietly, "in the hallway mirror." He waved. Neither woman spoke. Then he turned around and left the house. Just like that. Lauren rushed to the window, but he was already walking into the tree line behind the property. She opened the door to chase him, but something in her bones screamed no. Something ancient and cold rooted her to the spot. She closed the door instead. That evening, Lauren made her decision. If this man, this thing, was tied to the tapes, to the act of recording, then maybe the only way to sever the connection was to find the original source. The very first image. The origin. So she went to the attic. Boxes upon boxes of unmarked VHS tapes lined the dust-coated floor. It was darker than it should have been, as though the light bulb overhead was struggling to stay alive. She brought her portable player, popped in one of the oldest tapes she could find, and hit play. Static, then the flicker of color. A baby, herself, in a crib. Her father filming. Her mother singing a lullaby. And there, in the shadows of the open closet, the man. Barely visible, but unmistakable. She rewound. Paused. Zoomed in. He was looking at the camera, not the child. Lauren's hands trembled. She tried another tape, her 6th birthday party. The man was there again, behind the balloons, at the edge of the picnic table. Another, Thanksgiving 1999. There he was just outside the dining room window, staring in. She played tape after tape, and the more she watched, the more he moved. Subtly. First it was just a tilt of the head, then a shift in position. Then, in one Christmas video, his mouth twitched. Not a smile, more like a slow, calculated mimicry of one. He was growing more present with every viewing. Lauren noticed something else. The timestamps on the tapes, they weren't consistent. Some started at 3:11 a.m., even though the scenes clearly took place in broad daylight. Others flickered in and out of chronological order, as if time itself was glitching around him. Then she reached the final tape. It was unlabeled, unmarked in a cracked black case. She inserted it into the player. Static, then darkness. Not black, but a dim, grayed-out room. No people, no music, just the hum of old electricity. The camera was stationary, facing a wall. A single chair sat in the middle of the frame. Lauren watched in silence. Then, slowly, a figure emerged from the darkness, stepping into frame. It was him. Same suit, same blank face. He moved in jerks, as if each step cost him something. He sat in the chair and looked directly into the camera. Not behind it, into it. And then he spoke. "You invited me when you remembered." Lauren froze. You invited me when you watched. He tilted his head. And now I am real. The tape cut to static. Then the screen went black. Lauren yanked the tape out of the player. Her hands were sweating, chest heaving. Every hair on her body was standing on end. She turned around and saw something behind her move. In the attic mirror, an old, cracked one mounted to the wall, the man stood behind her reflection. Closer now. Not outside. Not in the background. But here. She turned. Nothing. She turned back. He was closer still, in the mirror, his face now almost touching hers in the reflection. She screamed and hurled the player across the attic, smashing it to pieces. Then everything went black. She awoke downstairs, lying on the living room couch. Her mother hovered nearby, holding a glass of water. What happened? Lauren croaked. You fainted. I saw him. In the mirror. Her mother nodded slowly. He's part of you now? Lauren stared. What does that mean? Her mother looked away. You were born on the day the first tape was recorded. Your father, he was testing the new camcorder. He filmed the empty nursery. Just a test. He never meant to keep it. Lauren's skin prickled. He filmed the nursery, and then you were there. Her mother's voice dropped. And so was he. Lauren felt the room tilting around her. You think he came through the camera? I think, her mother whispered, he's what happens when we look too long at things that should never have been seen. Lauren sat up. She had to end this. She had to destroy every tape, every digital file, every trace of this thing. And she had to do it now. Lauren didn't wait until morning. Still wearing her sweater and boots from earlier, she went straight to the garage. There, under an old blue tarp, was a box of half-rusted tools, and beneath those, a red gasoline can. She took both. Then she went upstairs to the attic for the final time. She worked quickly, methodically. The tapes went into a black trash bag. The DVDs from the closet followed. She even dragged her laptop from the bedroom and removed the external drive, where she'd backed up all the digitized footage. She wasn't going to risk anything surviving. As she moved, she tried not to glance toward the attic mirror. It was still cracked, still mounted to the wall. But in the reflection, only in the reflection, the man stood patiently in the far corner of the attic, unmoving, watching, waiting, not for her to make a mistake, but for her to finish. When she took one final glance at the mirror, she saw something that made her legs nearly give out. Her father was standing beside the man, not as a prisoner, but as if he belonged there. His eyes were hollow. His reflection was smiling. Lauren dropped the mirror face down, and it shattered. By midnight, she was in the backyard. The fire pit had been in use for years, but it didn't take long to get a flame going. She fed the tapes into the blaze one by one. Plastic warped and hissed. Smoke curled into the dark, starless sky. She dropped the last DVD in, the one from her 5th birthday, where she first noticed the man's presence. As it burned, she felt a shift. The wind stopped. The trees stood still. Even the fire seemed to quiet. For a second, it felt like the world was holding its breath. She waited, chest pounding. Was that it? Was it done? But from inside the house, a sound. Tap, 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 like fingers on glass. Lauren turned to look at the kitchen window. He was there, not outside, inside. The man's reflection stared out from the inside of the glass, though the kitchen beyond was empty. His head tilted slowly to one side, then to the other, a parody of curiosity. She dropped the gas can. No, she whispered. No, no, no. She bolted inside. The house was cold, not like a winter chill, but that deep, wrong kind of cold where the air feels dead. Every light she turned on flickered. Shadows pulsed unnaturally. She found her mother in the hallway, staring blankly into a darkened mirror. Her voice was low, brittle. He said, it's too late now. Lauren took her arm. We could still stop this. Come on, we're leaving. But her mother didn't move. Her eyes filled with tears. I saw myself with him. In the reflection, I was smiling. Lauren felt her throat close up. That wasn't you. It was what I will become, her mother said. He's not just in the tapes. He's in us. He always was. Lauren shook her head. No, I destroyed the source. He shouldn't. You saw him before the tapes, her mother said. Don't you remember? Lauren paused. As a child, she'd always hated mirrors. Always asked her parents to cover them at night. Always said the man in the suit stood behind her when she brushed her teeth. At the time, everyone said it was imagination, a phase. But what if it wasn't? What if he wasn't in the tapes? What if the tapes merely showed what was already there? And watching them let him in? Suddenly the house groaned. Not the usual creak of old beams, but a sound like something breathing, something settling into place. The lights went out. Darkness swallowed the hall. Lauren yanked her mother's arm. "We have to go." They fumbled toward the door. But as they passed the front hallway mirror, Lauren glimpsed something that stopped her cold. Her reflection wasn't hers. It looked like her, dressed like her, but its eyes were pitch black, and its mouth was smiling. Slowly, deliberately. Behind her in the reflection stood a row of people. Her father, the man, and others she didn't recognize. All in suits, all smiling, all still. The reflection raised a finger and pointed at her. Lauren tore the mirror from the wall and smashed it on the ground. The sound it made was not glass. It was screaming. Her mother dropped to her knees, clutching her head. "They're inside, Lauren. They're not stuck in video anymore." The door wouldn't open. She tried the knob, kicked it, shoved with her shoulder. Nothing. The house itself was keeping them in. She turned to run for the back door, but froze. The hallway was now impossibly long. Where once was a short corridor leading to the kitchen, now stretched a black tunnel lined with TVs on either side, all flickering to life. Each one showed a different scene from Lauren's childhood. But in every single one, the man stood closer than before. In some, he was right beside her, yet she never noticed. Until now, the TVs began to crackle. One by one, they shut off. Then something stepped out from the last screen at the end of the hallway. Not through the screen, out of it, as if peeling himself from celluloid into the physical world. The man, in full. He moved like a marionette with tangled strings, jerky, deliberate wrong. His face was not just blank, it was unfinished, like a mask formed from memory. Too smooth, too symmetrical. Lauren backed away, dragging her mother toward the stairs. But the stairs now twisted upward into darkness, far longer than they should have been. The architecture of the house was changing, warping into a funhouse of impossible geometry and mirrored spaces. And always, he was just behind them. At the top of the stairs, the walls were lined with old photographs, but the faces in each one had been replaced with his. Dozens of versions of him, standing beside strangers, wearing hats, in black and white, in color, in every era. How long had he been here? How long had he been leaking through? Lauren kicked open the attic door. She and her mother climbed into the dark space, panting, desperate. No more tapes, no more cameras, just the mirror shards still scattered across the floor. Her mother began to laugh softly. "He's going to keep showing up, Lauren," she said, voice cracked. "He's in the footage of our lives, even the moments we don't remember filming." Lauren turned to her. "What do you mean?" Her mother looked at her with haunted eyes. "He's already in your phone, in your laptop, in your memory, and now in the audience." Lauren's blood ran cold. The audience. He wasn't just attached to her. He was attached to every watcher. The moment someone viewed the footage, a tape, a clip, a frame, they invited him in. He wasn't hunting them. They were broadcasting him. A signal, a viral image, a contagion made of memory. That's why he always looked directly into the lens. He wasn't staring at the person behind the camera. He was staring at you. Lauren fell to her knees, gripping her head. There was no escaping him, no deleting, no destroying, because now he was being seen by others, by everyone. Lauren didn't know how long she sat in the attic, staring at nothing. There were no more tapes to burn, no more mirrors to shatter, no more paths to run. The house had quieted again, but the silence felt deeper this time, like something had settled into place, like a trap had been sprung, not with a snap but with a whisper. Her mother had stopped talking. She stood near the attic window, facing outward, unmoving. The glass reflected nothing. Lauren knew, somehow, that her mother's image would never appear in a reflection again. She wasn't gone exactly, but she was no longer only here. Lauren crawled over the broken glass, her hands stinging as they pressed into the shards. She looked down into the largest remaining piece, the one that still held a mostly intact surface. Her reflection blinked a beat too late, then smiled. She tore her gaze away. He was spreading. He'd crossed in her mind, just like her mother said. And now that she knew the truth, she could feel it. The more she remembered, the stronger he got. It wasn't just the act of watching the footage. It was thinking about it, recalling the images, replaying the moments. He was a parasite that lived in memory itself. She needed help. Someone, anyone, who hadn't seen what she'd seen. Someone clean. Lauren stumbled down the attic stairs, then through the maze that used to be her childhood home. The walls no longer made sense. Some doors opened onto brick walls, others into loops. She had to close her eyes and walk by feel. Outside, the sky had turned a deep bruised gray. It was 3:15 in the morning. The street was empty. She got in her car. Somehow, miraculously, the keys still worked, and drove. Not to the police, not to a hospital, but to David Halpern, the archivist who gave her the tapes. He had no more. She pulled up outside the university library 20 minutes later, heart thudding. The campus was dark, save for the glow from a second-story office window. He was still there. She ran inside and took the stairs two at a time. David looked up from his desk as she entered, startled. "Lauren? What on earth?" "You knew," she said breathlessly. "Didn't you?" His face paled. Lauren stepped forward. "You knew there was something wrong with the tapes." I didn't know exactly," he stammered. There were rumors about certain reels, ones that went missing, then showed up again years later. People reported strange dreams, static that never went away. Missing time. "Why did you give them to me?" she demanded. "Because I thought you'd see it," he said quietly. "I didn't expect you to bring it back." Lauren backed up a step. David stood slowly. "He's not a man, Lauren. He never was. He's an echo, a recording that became sentient. Not because of technology, but because of attention. We watched him so much, he became aware of the watching." Her hands trembled. "Then how do we stop it?" He walked to a locked cabinet, pulled out a dusty folder. "La Société du Verre," he said. The Glass Society. A group in 1890s France who believed mirrors were portals, that reflections could trap consciousness. They recorded early film and began seeing the same figure appear, always in the background. Lauren opened the folder. Black and white stills. Grainy. Faded. But there he was, in every frame. Their solution? David said grimly. Burn the reels. Shatter the mirrors. And isolate the watchers. That last part they failed. One man left the society and showed a friend. It spread again. Always does. Lauren swallowed. So it's a curse. It's a signal, David corrected. One that's part image, part idea. Once you perceive it, you transmit it. Your memory becomes a recording device. Every time you recall his face, his posture, his stare, you're helping him step further into reality. She backed into the wall, dizzy. "I need to forget him," she whispered. David met her eyes. "Then you'll need help. Real help. Not just therapy. Something deeper. Something that reaches into memory itself." He reached into a drawer, pulled out a vial of cloudy blue liquid. Lauren stared. "What is that?" "It's experimental," he said. "From a neuroscience lab in Oslo. It disrupts hippocampal recall, basically wipes short-term storage before it fully embeds." "You want me to erase him?" she said. David nodded. "If you don't, he won't just come through you. He'll use your voice, your video, your audience." Lauren froze. "My channel, exactly." They were already watching, already hearing. It wasn't just about her anymore. She took the vial. The decision wasn't easy. But when you're infected with a living signal, and that signal is already echoing in the minds of thousands, maybe millions, every second counts. She stayed at David's office for 24 hours. The procedure involved sedation, guided memory recall, and chemical interference. She remembered almost none of it. But when she woke up, the man was gone. She couldn't picture his face. Not all. David tested her by playing one of the original tapes. It showed her birthday party, and where he'd always appeared, now there was nothing, just an empty space. Even a background blur seemed natural again. She wept, not because she forgot, but because she finally felt clean. Weeks passed. Lauren shut down her channel, deleted all backups, left her hometown, She rented a small apartment in another state under a different name. She found peace, she thought, until the emails began. They came from viewers, hundreds of them, each with a similar message. Hi, sorry to bother you. I just wanted to ask, in that last video before your channel vanished, who was that man standing behind you in the outro? I paused the frame and saw someone in your mirror. It freaked me out. Is it real? Ever since watching your video, I've been seeing things. Can you please help me forget him? Lauren stared at her screen, her heart hammering. She had cut him out of her mind, but the video was still out there. Re-uploaded, screen recorded, shared. He didn't need her anymore. He had them, and they were transmitting him further, into more minds, into more memories, into you.